I currently own the M1 Mac Mini and I have the 16 gigabyte version. I returned my 8 gigabyte version because it simply wasn't doing the job. I ran out of system memory a lot and I just couldn't have that. So I finally have the 16 gigabyte version behind me right here. But I've had this question in my head, and I'm sure some of you have this question too, which is the M1 Mac Mini, even with 8 gigabytes or 16 gigabytes, good enough for graphic designers and content creators, professionals in general? So grab a coffee, grab a water, sit down, let's chat. I want to start the video off by saying I love my M1 Mac Mini. It's great. It works really, really good. It's fast, it's efficient, and it never turns on. Like, you never hear the fans turn on, which is insane to me because I'll be editing like 4K video and the fans won't turn on at all, but I'm still getting the power that I expect from these new chips as advertised. But that doesn't mean that there's no problems. I do have some issues with my M1 Mac Mini, and some of it is like really not a big deal, but some of it kind of irritates me, you know? I'll give you guys quick examples. So Final Cut Pro is a program that I use to edit my YouTube videos on, and there's certain plugins that just won't work simply because the companies that made those plugins still have to come up with an update to support the M1 chip. So there's that, and it's not that big of a deal. There's a lot of workarounds I can get away with not using some of the plugins, such as Cinema Grade, which is one of my favorite plugins for Final Cut Pro. I cannot use it right now, and I'm waiting for the company to send out an update supporting the new M1 chips. And if you're like me and you use Adobe apps such as After Effects, Photoshop, and Illustrator, there are certain plugins that won't work as well because they're just simply not supported yet. So going into these new M1 chips, you kind of have to know these things because you can't expect these to work perfect right now. They're brand new and there are kinks that have to be worked out, and companies have to jump on the bandwagon, and some are taking longer than others to develop these updates that support the new M1 chip. So that is a lot to digest, right? The question remains though, is this machine good enough for professionals such as graphic designers, video editors, content creators in general? And I honestly think it's good enough. I think it's more than good enough, but you have to ask yourself as a content creator, as a graphic designer, whatever you do professionally in your career, is this machine going to work for your needs? And that is going to solely depend on the programs that you absolutely need right now. If you are an Adobe user, it's going to work beautifully for you. There are certain plugins that won't work. You can't even install plugins right now on Photoshop because it's not supported, but if that's not a big deal to you, this machine might be perfect. And for me, I don't really use a lot of plugins, so it works beautifully for me. But again, you have to ask yourself if that's worth sacrificing plugins. And if the answer is yes, then maybe it's the right move for you. But if you have plugins that you use for Adobe products, let's say, that you cannot sacrifice, then I would simply not switch right now. Pretty much every major app that everybody's using right now, After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, they all work on the M1 chip. So you're not really missing out on much. Here's the way I look at it. I sold a late 2019 5K iMac with 40 gigs of RAM running an Intel i7. I think it was like a 9th gen processor. And this computer, this M1 Mac Mini with 16 gigabytes of RAM, crushes the performance of that one in so many different ways. It's so much more efficient. So I personally was able to sacrifice certain features of certain programs in order to make the switch because the performance was worth it for me. And I'm a Final Cut Pro user, so I knew that this machine would run Final Cut Pro even smoother than my Intel iMac did. But again, I am missing certain plugins. So for me, it's more of an annoyance, but I can get by, if that makes sense. So if you do have an Intel computer, whatever that is, ask yourself, like, weigh out the pros and cons. And if there's more pros and cons, then maybe make the switch. You save money. I think I spent less than $1,200 on this machine, so it's really affordable and you get a lot of bang for your buck. But this is a discussion video, you know? I'm curious to see what you guys think about the new M1 Mac Mini. If you own it, if you're thinking about switching, what's stopping you? What do you like about the new machines based on what you've seen online or read online? Don't be like me and just sell something without doing the research, because I sold my Intel 5K iMac for the M1 Mac Mini, which Intel is pretty much compatible with every program out there, and the M1 isn't. So it was kind of dumb, is what I'm trying to say. And don't do that. Like, research what you're buying, guys. Don't just listen to a YouTuber that you see online talking about a certain product, because yes, some of us are experts in our field. Just do your research, guys, is what I'm trying to say, because I watched a YouTuber that was saying the 8GB M1 Mac Mini is perfect for professionals, and I picked it up and it was simply not enough. So do not listen to people talking online, okay? So yes, I believe the M1 Mac Mini is good enough for graphic designers and content creators if you have the 16GB version, and a big and the apps that you are going to use on it are compatible. You got to double check that on your own. But yeah, I give it a big thumbs up. I love it. It's great. I miss my dedicated screen sometimes, but I'm able to get away with not having it. It works fine for me. I made this video to start a discussion with you guys. So let me know what you guys think about the M1 Mac Mini in the comment section below. Did you pick one up? Are you planning on picking one up? Let me know. But for me, I'm definitely happy with my purchase. I have no regrets. And that's pretty much it, guys. My name is Charlie Pangus. I will catch you guys later. Keep creating. Keep being awesome. Peace.